Stuck between buying the rear-wheel drive Model Y and the long-range Model Y? Heck, even the Model Y Performance. Some of you may recall I did arguably one of the most useful and relatable Tesla Model 3 comparisons on YouTube. Okay, whilst I am partially biased in that claim, I generally believe that my Tesla trim comparison is like no other comparison video on the internet, and that's because I tackled the question from a totally different angle. I help bring the comparison to life by helping you understand where that extra range and charging speed is useful for your own circumstances. By the end of the video, you'll literally be able to simulate the comparison yourself too. So do you do 300 plus miles almost daily? I'll simulate that and how much time you will save if you went with the long range compared to the rear wheel drive. But it's not just limited to 300 miles. I'll show you how to do your own range simulation for your own commute, so you can accurately sum up if the extra charging speed and the vehicle range is going to be worth the price tag premium. Sometimes the extra minutes saved is frankly not worth the cost difference, but that's what my comparison will bring to life. I've also done my best to cram a damn good comparison on the meaningful factors and differences beyond range and charging speeds, such as the differences in the trim level, the sound system, and which one is more suited for winter climates and more. Therefore, this is effectively my 10-minute-ish super user-friendly comparison on which new Tesla Model Y trim is suited to your own driving requirements. So whether you're new to Tesla EVs or you're already a Tesla owner looking for a new Tesla Model Y, this video should help you address which one is worth the price tag for your needs. Hopefully I've set the scene for the remainder of the video. So before I kickstart the video, I'd appreciate if you could just drop the video a cheeky like, subscribe and hit the notification bell, as it really helps me out. Right, let's get into it. Starting with the main course and potentially the biggest and most important difference, the range and charging speed differences in the 2024 variants, and where and why it doesn't matter in every scenario. Now you're probably thinking, why did you just say that? The practical differences will make sense in just a second. Onto the base Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive, you'll be pleased to hear it delivers a whopping 455 kilometers or 283 miles WLTP range. The rear-wheel drive also has a unique battery trick up its sleeve. It's an LFP battery compared to the long-range and performance models. What that means for you is that this battery pack is uniquely qualified to be charged to 100% more regularly, and with far less stress placed on the battery's health and performance. Therefore, I'd say the rear-wheel drive Model Y is more user-friendly as a result of its ease of use and practicality of having 100% state of charge more often. Without trying to bore you with the specifics, for which I probably won't do it justice anyway, LFP batteries are notoriously good for allowing a high number of charging cycles with limited fears around degradation of the battery, and this effectively means that even after many years of ownership, your 100% state of charge, you should still be incredibly close to its original rated range. The biggest downside of the LFP battery pack is that its peak charging speed with supercharging will be limited to 170 kilowatts. But we'll compare the practicalities of charging speed after we've looked at the long range's range and charging speed specs. The 2024 Model Y long range will be able to drive a massive 351 WLTP miles or 565 kilometers. So the no-brainer is around 24% more range. That range comes from a bigger and more energy dense battery pack. However, you should note day to day, you'll be advised to charge it between 80 and 90% for everyday driving, unless you know you need it for the full 100% of the pack, for which you can fully utilize it when you need it. So unlike the rear-wheel drive Model Y, you shouldn't be charging to 100% unless you need it for that day. Therefore, at 100%, you'll gain an extra 68 miles of range with the long-range Model Y, but the biggest difference is probably the charging speed at a much higher 250 kilowatts. Therefore, reaching and maintaining higher charging speeds are possible thanks to its larger battery pack. However, there is a little bit more battery care in mind over the rear-wheel drive Model Y. When it comes to charging the vehicle, we would expect the battery to degrade over time faster than the rear-wheel drive Model Y, but this shouldn't be too dramatic. If I was to simulate a road trip on how the Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive and the Tesla Model Y long range would compare if I was to do over 300 miles, using a free tool called a Better Route Planner, I can simply pick the car of my choice, this being both the Model Y rear-wheel drive and the Model Y long range, from Leicester to Edinburgh, in over 306 miles. The Model Y rear-wheel drive, in the quickest possible method, is predicted to require 2 short stops that total 28 minutes. So the benchmark of 28 minutes has been set by the Model Y rear-wheel drive. How will the long-range Model Y fare? You may be surprised, but you save just 14 minutes. Still 2 stops, just shorter stops thanks to the faster charging speeds. Now, if we were to make this a round trip and turn it into a 612-mile trip, and not considering stopping and charging at our destination Edinburgh, if we were crazy enough to just turn around and go home effectively, a difference becomes clearer. 4 stops in a total of 1 hour and 8 minutes compared to 5 stops of 1 hour and 45 minutes in total. So that's a 37 minute saving over 612 miles. So the longer the journey, the bigger the difference will be. But that said, in a real life situation, this is an extreme take on matters because usually you travel to a destination and you stay there for at least a few hours, maybe even overnight at a hotel. And if so, you're probably going to be parked up and charging. So we can trickle charge towards that 100% again, for which the first simulation would be repeated as we'd see a 40-minute saving on the journey home if that was going to be the case. This is what brings my comparison to life, and I explain it this way so even if you know diddly squat about Tesla EVs, you can go onto this app or website called a Better Route Planner, pick your EV, pick your weekly commute, even the longest road trip you do in a year, then you have a good idea how your Tesla EV will work for your own crazy circumstances. You can then switch between the rear-wheel drive and the long range so you can validate if the larger range and faster charging speed is warranted. Pretty smart, right? Therefore, in plain English, what does this all mean and which vehicle is more suited to who, when and where? Just on the vehicle's range and charging speed alone, hopefully you've picked up the cheaper Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive trim is a solid base. It holds its own and it's suited for most people, frankly. With a total usable range of 283 miles daily, it trumps the average daily mileage of 36 miles a day. In fact, it's agile enough to deal with daily trips and the occasional road trips with ease. Don't be of the mindset that this is just suited as a city car only, it can still very much handle the road trips. Where the true differences between the long-range Model Y will be felt is how often you'll be completing round trips of over 283 miles, and this is where that extra range of the long range, but most importantly the extra charging speed, will be felt most. Personally, in my Tesla Model 3, I simply don't complete over 300-mile road trips often, for which is why I only use the superchargers just a handful of times over the course of the year, so the estimated £8,000 or $5,000 difference in cost here is just not worth it for me either. I may save like an hour's worth of charging time over the course of a year, for example, so personally my preference has to be the cost saving here. Therefore, you need to do the same analysis for your unique driving circumstances. Does the amount of round trips over 283 miles warrant the longer drives and quicker charging stops of the long range? For most people, that simply isn't the case, but for business users that do, the all-wheel drive long range Model Y is likely to be the most appropriate option. Moving to the exterior and interior differences. To the human eyes and ears, there isn't really that much difference when it comes to the interior and exterior, but there are some minor differences. The sound system in the Model Y is the same for all 3 trims in Europe. However, if you are based in the US, the rear-wheel drive Model Y sacrifices some speakers and a subwoofer system, and so premium sound will only be found in the long-range Model Y and the Model Y Performance. Moving on to the exterior, if you have the long range, you have an all-wheel driving experience, for which I will go into the advantages in just a sec, but the only difference externally will be the dual motor badge on the rear of the car. That is literally it for the eyes and ears. However, more differences can be found in the spec. So I already mentioned that the long range Model Y is a dual motor and all-wheel drive Tesla. This allows it to have a 0-60 acceleration speed of 4.8 seconds compared to the 6.6 seconds of the single rear motor of the Model Y. There's even a software acceleration boost available after purchase, but it does come with a small price tag. It's not just faster acceleration the long range benefits from, but also better traction thanks to the dual motor setup. Strangely, despite the additional motor in the long range, both cars have identical top speeds of 135 miles per hour. That said, the additional motor is felt when it comes to traction, and so this Model Y will then fare better in wintry climates. That doesn't make the rear-wheel drive Model Y a bad choice here, it just doesn't fare as well. The final notable difference is the warranty available. General warranty between both vehicles are the same at 4 years and 50,000 miles. The battery and drive unit warranties do differ though. Both come with 8-year warranties here, but limited to 100,000 miles for the rear-wheel drive Model Y or 120,000 miles for the long-range Model Y. So whilst this is a marginal difference, it may be enough to just swing your preferential vote. So to conclude, which Tesla Model Y is better for you? The 2024 Tesla Model Y long range or the 2024 Tesla Model Y rear wheel drive? Well, I can't make that decision for you, but the difference between both trims is much less than you think. Effectively, for an estimated difference of £8,000 or $5,000, you have 68 more miles of range, faster charging speeds, dual motor driving, better traction, quicker acceleration, and an extra mileage allowance for that battery and motor warranty. The question for you then becomes, does that warrant the extra £8,000 or $5,000 upgrade? Or do you spend some of that on a paint option or upgrading it to white interior? I very much think that the standard Tesla Model Y will be more than ideal for most people, with those complete round trips of over 283 miles frequently are more naturally suited to the Tesla Model Y long range. The choice is ultimately yours though. So did today's video help you at all? Which trim are you leaning to at the moment? Do you think the higher price tag of the Model Y long range is warranted? Let me know in the comment section below. I want to hear any opinion that you have on this, and also if you got this far in the video, you might want to let me know you got this far, and if so, you can drop me the comments, Adam help me pick, and I'll give you a cheeky thumbs up for the support. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, share it with your friends or anyone that may find the video beneficial. You folks have been great, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.